Okay, let's move on, please.
Oh,
Thank you.
okay.
You made your point. You made your point. Okay. So specifically, you said this, which is you said in the context puke. There was more. You said this was the worst thing I did. So let me play it, okay, and then we can discuss. More Jews displaced than Palestinians. Let me go back to 1948 countries, just to give the whole context. Expelled them in massive amounts following the 1948 war. In fact, there was more Jews displaced than Palestinians.
This was one of the worst pieces of misinformation I've seen in the fucking context puke. For the record, it was crazy.
This specific. So Mike, again, nicely done. Let this guy hold your hand and formulate your opinions, but he's not here to help you. Okay. So you tell me what was wrong with what was misinformation about saying that 900,000 Jews were displaced?
You make a comparison between Planned Dalit, which is a planned ethnic cleansing campaign, to one, horrify Palestinians inside of villages that had actually no arms whatsoever because they had specific peace agreements that they've done with Jewish villages.
What was the exaggeration?
By killing them.
No. This isn't a comparison
by massacring them.
What was
and then,
fucking hell,
and then
bro? You are
letting
incapable
survivors
of answering
tell the tale.
anything.
You asked me a question and I can't even fucking answer it? What are we doing?
It. You're not. You're just going on and on.
I am answering it.
What was the exaggeration?
Ethan,
about
sit the fuck
the
down
historical
and listen to the history
fact
lesson. Okay, you're gonna learn a little bit right now. Okay, Deir Yassin is Tantura. These are two very famous massacres that took place. the brigades, the militant brigades, the Zionist brigades that then formed the IDF, including some that personally called themselves terrorists, by the way, Lihi and Irgun, went in and did horrifying mass rape, kidnappings, throwing people in ovens. And then the survivors left to tell the tale. In that process, these brigades would go to each individual city and forcibly ethnically cleanse 750,000 Palestinians. This is known as the Nakba.
What the fuck does that have to do with the Jewish refugees? Answer that question. I know what the Nakba is. I don't deny it.
Do you think that is even remotely comparable to Jewish people leaving sometimes voluntarily and sometimes because their governments had made deals
many left
with
voluntarily?
Either Israel or France.
How many of the 900,000 left voluntarily?
I don't know the exact number of how many left voluntarily. Do you?
Take a guess.
I would suspect that a big chunk of them, you're going to say, did not leave voluntarily, but that is not the case.
Well, you're lying and you're fucking dead wrong. You brought up the fact that I talked about what happened in Iraq. So let me give you a timeline of what happened in Iraq. 1932, they gain independence. 1934, Hebrew is banned. Jews are fired from government positions. 1938, Zionist activity is outlawed. Crimes as trivial as possessing a biblical map of the Holy Land will send you to jail. The Farhud pogrom, inspired by neo-Nazis, Rashid al-Khalini killed 180 Jews. Hundreds were injured, widespread looting, property damage. 1947, Jews were banned from immigrating because they didn't want them to go strengthen the state of Israel, and they wanted to hold them prisoners against Israel and the West. In 1948, the war begins. Jewish banks were forbidden to transact with foreign countries. Jews were arrested for Zionist activity, for economic crimes. They were fines that were paid to the Ministry of Defense. In 1949, a month after taking office, the British learned that they were planning to expel the Jews from Iraq before they even left. Does this sound like volunteer? Does this sound voluntary? Does that sound voluntary?
I sent you a clip.
No.
One of the most important scholars on this issue.
Oh my God!
Is an Iraqi Jew by the name of Avi Shleim.
Yeah, I love this. Let's listen to him.
Okay, let's listen to it.
Yeah.
Jews were convinced that Israel had a hand in uprooting them. After the 1948 war, there was mounting popular hostility towards the Jews in Iraq. 5 bombs exploded in Jewish sites. The series of bombs created a panic which led more and more Jews to register to leave the country. I met an elderly friend of my mother's, an Iraqi Jew called Yaakov Karkukli, who had been in the Zionist underground. One member of his group, Yosef Basri, a very, very intelligent Jewish lawyer, and his assistant, Shalom Saleh Shalom, were responsible for 3 out of the 5 bombs. Basri's controller was an Israeli intelligence officer named Max Binet.
Let's grant that what he's saying is true and that 3 of the 5 bombs were done by Zionists, right? How does that explain 150,000 people leaving the fucking country? What? Thousands of years of civilization that have been there, 2,000 years, just picking up and leaving, almost virtually gone. How does that explain that?
Why is it that the Israeli government benefited from creating instability and making it seem as though these countries were uninhabitable? And why do you think that, despite the fact that Iraq and numerous other countries have offered Israelis or Jews a right to return,
because they were being
failed on the Israeli front for numerous reasons?
Let me tell you an inconvenient fact for you, Hasan.
Arrive at that conclusion.
Let me tell you an inconvenient fact.
I wonder why that happened.
Before
right
the bombs
Israel
went off,
being established.
Before the bombs went off, 100,000 of the 125 Jews were already registered to leave. Do you want to explain that?
Yes. Jews wanted to go to Israel, Ethan. They liked the idea
So let me hear what
Okay,
so
you like Israel.
Yeah, you're a liar. You're a disgusting fucking propagandist liar. Here's what Avi Schleim actually said.
My research, I established
Scumbag.
that one bomb was lobbed, one hand grenade was lobbed by a young activist in the Istiklal party, which wanted to expel the Jews from Iraq and confiscate the properties. And another hand grenade was lobbed into the Masoud Hashem Tov synagogue, and there 4 people were killed. And he was a criminal who had a grudge against the Jews, and it had nothing to do with the Mossad.
Did you hear that? The first 2 had nothing to do with the Mossad. But let's continue to listen to the respected scholar, Avi Schleim, you fucking liar.
Hold on.
No, you listen to this fucking historian. Yes, you said they left by choice. They left because of Zionism. They left because they were being threatened.
They had a place to go,
let's hear what your respected historian has to say, you liar.
That's right.
Wait,
even
listen.
If all this is true, the main reason for the exodus was not the bombs, it was persecution by the government. And I concede that. It's not part of my argument that the bombs were the main reason for the liquidation of this community. But my answer to my Zionist critics is, even if I knew for certain that not a single Iraqi Jew left Iraq to go to Israel because of the bombs, I would still think this is a real indictment of the state of Israel, because Israel was created to provide a safe haven for Jews, not to be harassing and threatening Jews in other countries.
By the way, he said, and I'll quote it for you, "We did not leave Iraq because we were Zionists. We left because we were no longer safe." He wrote that in his book, 3 Worlds. Have you read that book?
No, I have not read 3 Worlds.
Okay, well, you're using a lot of source from it. It's a book that he wrote about his migration.
It's not the only book he wrote about this. But go on.
Have you read any of the other ones?
Yes.
Really? Which ones?
The book that I'm referencing is from the Iron Wall.
3 Worlds, okay? He writes about his time in Iraq. He writes about his time in Israel. He writes about his time in the UK. In 3 Worlds, he writes about his own family, and he describes their departure from Iraq as traumatic, disorienting, and not voluntary. They were not proud Zionist migrations. They were leaving out of fear.
Ethan.
He said that himself.
Ethan.
He said, we did not leave Iraq because we were Zionists. We left because we were no longer safe.
My friend, you are failing to comprehend a very important reason why I brought up Avi Schleim, by the way. And
yeah, because you think he supports your claim, but he absolutely does not. That's why, because you're a fucking liar.
He absolutely
contend
does.
with what I said.
Hold on.
No. Contend with what I'm saying. He said we did not leave Iraq because we were Zionists. We left because we were no longer safe. Do you want to explain what he meant by that? Explain what he meant by saying we didn't leave because we were Zionists. We left because we were no longer safe.
Okay.
Explain to me.
I can't wait to bring up Avi Schleim on the broadcast to make you fucking look like a dumbass.
I can't wait to. And now explain what he means by that. We did not leave Iraq because we were Zionists. We left because we were no longer safe.
Iraqis are not Palestinian. You fucking moron. You racist piece of shit.
What?
Because Iraq and the pan-Arabic nationalist movements that arise out of
you are out of your mind.
Is not about Palestinians.
Okay, so what did the Jews in Iraq have to do with fucking Israel? You bigot.
Actually fucking
you are
terrorize the
so out of your mind.
And then Iraqis.
Dude, you screaming and grandstanding doesn't mean you're right.
Iraqi government's racism during the pan-Arabic nationalist movements as a vindication for why, or a comparison as to why Israel had to do the Nakba.
Do you think
you fucking racist piece of shit?
Thanks, Hasan.
Do you think Iraq?
Do you
think all Arabs have one fucking mind?
Why
Is that what you think?
Were the Iraqi Jews leaving Iraq in fear?
Of course there were Iraqi Jews that left Iraq in fear. I've never said that there were no
Answer the question.
Jews that left
You want to call me racist?
Fear.
Why were Iraqi Jews leaving to go to Israel?
Because you're a fucking moron.
That's why they left. They left because I'm a fucking moron.
That Arabs are not one-minded. That there were numerous pan-Arabic nationalist
Answer the question. You're going to call me racist, but you won't answer. Why did the Iraqi Jews leave Iraq?
There were numerous
because of
reasons.
anti-Semitism. They hated Jewish people that had nothing to do with Israel. They were forced to leave. They were chased out. They lived there for thousands of years. They had businesses. They had homes. They were forced and abandoned to go to Israel because it was the only fucking place they could. Why would Iraqis hate the Jews living there if they had nothing to do with Zionism or Israel? Why?
Because settler colonialism
that has nothing to do with them, you absolute fucking dumbass. What does that have to do with the Iraqi Jews?
Do you think the Aliyahs were happening initially?
So it was there. So you're blaming them? Are you blaming the Iraqi Jews who had nothing to do with it? What the fuck is your point? You call me racist. I'm not
justifying the racism. I'm not justifying it. You're not comprehending my point.
They left.
I've never justified that.
Iraq turned on them after 1948.
Ethan,
you're materially wrong. You're a liar.
I recognized that there were numerous reasons why other countries, I know, hard concept, all Arab, they all have the same mindset.
I know. Let's go over them, genius.
And their pan-Arabic nationalist movements as states were being designed
in Egypt,
mostly by Western nations. You want to talk
facts? Let's talk facts.
Ethan,
in
you don't
Egypt.
know, you got fucking a chat GPT summary. Let me explain to you so you can fucking not look like a dumbass.
Okay, do you want to listen or do you just want to add hom?
No, I want to tell you my perspective.
No, you want to talk. That's the problem. You don't want to listen. You've talked
You're supposed to be attacking my perspective.
You called me racist, bro. The least you can do is shut the fuck up and listen to me talk, okay? The Iraqi Jews left because they were in fear of anti-Semitism. They had nothing to do with Israel or Zionism. The Arabs in Iraq, the Iraqis, turned on them because of what happened in the war in 1948. That had nothing to do with them. So if you want to blame the Jews for their own anti-Semitism, you go right ahead. But that's racism. Now let's talk about Egypt.
I also recognize that.
No, you're not. You are absolutely not. In Egypt, 75,000 Jews were displaced. Okay? Following anti-Jewish riots and bombs in Egypt.
Is Egypt Palestinians? Is Egypt Palestinians? Is Iraq Palestinians? Why were the Palestinians
it's got
never
nothing to
allowed
do
to
with
return?
That. They were forced to go there by the Arab
one
countries.
Of these countries have offered the Jews that were expelled or left on their own
it's time
voluntarily.
To listen, son.
These are completely separate
Nobody's
countries.
Justifying
you
the Nakba.
Packaging them together.
No one is justifying the Nakba. I'm explaining how it's fucking insanely racist to discredit the plight, the running of discrimination.
I don't discredit the plight.
But I'm not justifying the Nakba. You seem to be justifying why Jews were chased out of their home country.
No, I'm not, Ethan.
Why'd they leave?
I'm not justifying that at all.
Why'd they leave?
You think that because you want to drive home a point that
why did they leave their communities that have been there for 2,000 years, leaving their money, their businesses, their homes? Why did they leave?
I don't think you'll understand. Do you think Iraq is Palestine? Do you think Egypt is Palestine?
Nobody's defending the Nakba.
Do you think that all Arabs are operating on antiquated anti-Semitism? And if your answer is yes, why the fuck did Jews find the Ottoman Empire to be a safe haven for fucking hundreds of years?
Let's talk about the last 100 years. That's great. Yeah, the Ottoman Empire was great for the Jews. Let's talk about the last 100 years. Let's talk about 1948. Anti-Jewish riots broke out after the war. Hasan, you need to shut the fuck up and listen, okay? After the war,
my God.
After the war, okay, in 1948, there was anti-Jewish riots and bombs in Egypt. Why was that? Because of the Jews? The Jews brought it on themselves? Following the establishment of the Israel.
I never made that inference. What are you talking about?
Of course you did.
No, I didn't. I did not make that inference at all.
So they left because Zionism.
No, Ethan, if you were to listen to my words, and I use them very carefully, even though I get heated sometimes.
Right.
Okay? Egypt, Iraq, Morocco, each of these countries where Jews lived in the MENA region all the way to the Levant had different reasons. Some of them were direct pogroms.
Lie.
Others were the colonial.
You are a tangibly, historically proven liar.
Do you think that Jews,
and I feel
I just said that some of them were because of pogroms. You're not hearing anything I'm saying. You're so conditioned into saying liar
the amount
that you're undermining your own point.
The amount that left because of Zionism was minute. They were chased out. They were forced to become Zionists by their oppressors because they had nowhere else to go. In Egypt, following the establishment of Israel in May 1948...
Ethan, none of these countries are Palestine.
That is
none of
an
these
insanely irrelevant point. A series of bombs targeted Jewish areas in Cairo between June and September. They killed 70 Jews.
That's my point.
Injured 200. They confiscated Jewish-owned businesses and synagogues were attacked and destroyed. Okay?
Ethan.
In 1956, the Suez Crisis.
One is direct violence. Direct planned violence and an extermination campaign.
Approximately 25,000 Jews were expelled from Egypt.
Falsely misplaced hostility.
25,000 Jews were expelled
from other countries.
So are you blaming them?
You don't understand.
Are you blaming the Jews for getting? Are you blaming the Jews for being expelled from Egypt? 25,000 of them?
No, Ethan.
Okay.
If you listen to my words, you would understand.
So what is it I exaggerated about? 900,000 Jews were displaced.
Because you are making a comparison with different countries.
No, I'm not.
Versus one singular force that planned an extermination campaign, planned an ethnic cleansing campaign. Other countries and their reaction to it, or other countries and the previous hostility towards Jews have nothing to do with Palestinians. So
of
making
course
this
not. That's why it's anti-Semitic. Why it's anti-Semitic. It has nothing to do with Palestine, but they still got kicked out for being Jewish. That's literally what anti-Semitism.
I don't think you understand.
1,000 Jews in Egypt were arrested and detained without charges. The government seized 500 Jewish-owned businesses and froze bank accounts. The expelled Jews were compelled to sign a declaration donating their property to the Egyptian state and were allowed to take only minimal personal belongings. In Algeria, 130,000 Jews were expelled. Upon the independence...
That's not Palestine. They're not... They're just Arabs. They're not the same fucking people.
So my point is very simple. They were expelled from their homes because of anti-Semitism.
Ethan, you used Egypt as an example.
What is wrong about that?
Half of these countries that you're pointing to in the time when Jews were leaving were literally controlled by English and French. By the English and French colonial occupations. What are you talking about?
They were expelled because of anti-Semitism. What did I say wrong?
Go ahead. My God.
Go ahead.
Algeria was under French occupation. It is the design where the French occupied Algeria did not squash the attempts of expelling Jews. I'm not saying that there wasn't.
Most Algerians were French citizens and went to France.
That caused Jews to feel unsafe, Ethan.
95% of Algeria's 140,000 Jewish population.
Individual, often, sometimes Western powers and what they allowed in those countries on the Palestinian plight when you make this comparison. That's what I'm saying.
Is it anti-Semitic for Jewish people to get kicked out of their home?
The Armenian genocide, right? The Turkish, the Ottoman Empire and the forces and the Ottoman genocide that they conducted, a mass extermination campaign, is because other fucking random countries where Armenians
Iraq happened after independence and as a
equally dispelled. Turks were getting dispelled in other countries.
The pogrom happened as a direct
the same fucking thing that that's the way that it was taught in the past. That it was a
by the way, did you say
necessary voluntary migration?
By the way, did you? Because oh my God, bro, did you say Anne Frank died before she could resist? I don't know if that was a fever dream.
Wait, I'm saying that like. Would you have an issue with Anne Frank if she actually was able to?
I just thought it was an insane thing to say. I'm not trying to litigate it. In Tripoli, anti-Jewish riots broke out amid post-war unrest. Synagogues were burned. Jewish institutions were shut down.
What's your point about Anne Frank? Why are you trying to deflect away from what I'm saying here?
No, I just think that statement was insane. The Six-Day War backlash. In 1967, another Israel victory. Jewish communities got mobbed. 6,000 Jews were evacuated. Homes were destroyed. Synagogues were burned. In Morocco, 250,000 Jews were expelled. Anti-Jewish riots broke out in 1948. You'll notice most of these pogroms are happening in 1948 as a direct result of the war. The Arabs turned on their Jewish populace out of anti-Semitism. Period. Point blank. June 7 to 8, 1948. In northeastern Morocco, following the declaration of the state of independence, the state of Israel on May 14, 1948. Anti-Jewish riots erupted in the town of Jarada. These towns were significant transit points for Moroccan Jews seeking to immigrate. 47 Jews were killed, many were injured. Jewish homes and businesses were looted and damaged and destroyed. In 1950-1960, harassment and immigration. The year following 1948 riot, Moroccan Jews faced increased pressure. These factors contributed to a significant immigration of Jews from Morocco. Immigration to Israel was banned in 1959, but before that, 274,000 Moroccan Jews immigrated primarily to Israel. Yemen and Aden.
Remember when you said you weren't a
50,000
Zionist? Remember when you said you weren't a Zionist? These are direct Zionist talking points.
This is historical facts, literally spread by your very own Avi Schleim, who, if I'll quote it back to you, said, we didn't leave because we were Zionists. We did not leave because we were Zionists. We left because we were afraid.
Appropriate, Ethan. That's the difference. If you asked Avi Schleim whether it is comparable to say the Nakba and the 900,000 Jews that
I'm not defending the Nakba.
From separate countries, he would laugh at you.
Your failure
Do you not understand?
to acknowledge the trauma of both groups is the reason why you are a radical fucking propagandist liar. Both trauma needs to be acknowledged by both groups. There's two things that need to be true for this ever to be resolved peacefully.
You're right.
Palestinian self-determination and the Israelis' right to have secure borders.
Zionism
as long as you ignore that, there will always be war. Palestinians will always die, and you will continue to make money from it. Operation Magic Carpet. Jews were secretly airlifted to Israel due to rising hostility. 50,000.
It's so interesting
50,000 were relocated in Tunisia. 130,000 after
the PLO did recognize that, and they wanted those countries to actually do a right to return for all Jews. Why did Israel stop that from happening, Ethan? Don't you think that Zionism is the problem here?
Avi Schleim said,
"Oh,
quote,
what happened? They didn't fucking send you that clip? They didn't send you that fucking piece of information?"
Dude,
so the
Avi
PLO,
Schleim,
Yasser Arafat, the people that don't care about Jewish plight, actually did see
the guy who oversaw the second Intifada. What the fuck are you on about?
To be able to go back and do a right to return if they wanted to do so into their nation of origin.
I'm talking about the flights,
and yet
bro.
Israel was the one who didn't want that to happen.
You deny the flight of Middle Eastern Jews.
Ethan?
No, you deny the flight. You deny the trauma of Middle Eastern Jews.
I don't deny the flight,
you
Ethan.
Absolutely deny the trauma.
You are attributing.
No, you deny that they left by. You've tried to say that they left by choice. That is an gross historical inaccuracy.
There are Jews that left by choice.
Yes,
that is
some
true.
did. Of the 900,000, the vast majority left because they were afraid. Because they were being discriminated against. That is a historical fact. 6-day war aftermath.
Have you ever actually listened to a clip of me talking about this?
What?
Oh my God! You have no idea what my perspective on this is. You're just fucking yelling at nothing.
Well, what are you doing right now? What are you wasting time for, buddy?
This is the reason why you're
I have heard you talk about it time and time again.
That I don't actually believe.
Bro, you are continually, not acknowledging the trauma of Middle Eastern Jews. You characterize it like they left.
Have you ever listened?
Yes, I've seen it.
Have you ever listened to anything that's not 30 seconds long?
Bro. That's so ironic that you're saying that as you misquote Avi Schleim, who said he fled because he was afraid and not because of Zion. Here's the clip.
Over and over again. But you're too busy trying to get a gotcha here, so you can fucking farm a clip. But everyone's still going to think you're a fucking loser, dude. I'm sorry. Just shut up and listen if you want to actually hear my perspective.
I'm shutting up and listening to you.
Okay, thank you.
The Iraqi Jews. Because when anti-Semitism increases in the West, Israel sees that as a complementary tool to its Zionist project, Zionist ambition of bringing either all Jews to Israel or at least make Jews in the Western world that are outside of Israel, Jews in diaspora, support Israel, because it gives additional credence to the argument. It gives additional credence to the argument that no Jew is ever safe if there is no Jewish state. That is the underpinning of the Zionist project in general.
Why did you not mention the anti-Semitism? You exclusively talk about Zionism being the reason for forcing them out. Why do you deny that they were expelled by force, the vast majority of them?
Ethan, if you think that that is the entirety of my perspective on this matter,
illuminate me.
You please need to stop talking and listen to the amount of times that I've talked about this.
Bro, just explain yourself.
I'm trying.
I just watched a clip of you being pretty dismissive about the flight. And by the way, you've done it this whole time. You say that Zionism was the main force.
No, I'm dismissive about the aspect that this is beneficial to the Zionist project across the board. because Israel wants all Jews to be constantly fucking terrified in any other country that's not Israel, so that they can actually go and either support Israel if they're not in Israel, or just move to Israel. That is the entire point. That is what Jabotinsky wanted. That is what Herzl wanted. And that is precisely what Benjamin Netanyahu wants as well. So in terms of my explanation, or what I come across as dismissive, is precisely the role that Israel itself played in this process.
Which was minuscule.
Because it was a mutually beneficial relationship.
Minuscule.
That anti-Semitic pogroms.
Minuscule. What you fail to acknowledge is that the Jews were forced to become Zionists, not by choice, but by necessity, because the Arab countries turned on them after the war and forced them to go to the only state that they could go to.
It's a necessity for Israel to exist, which is what your position is, right?
No, it's not about what was allowed or not. The Arabs created a million Zionists because they're anti-Semitic after the war of 1948 and fucking the rise of Arab nationalism. Do you deny that?
Do you
deny what I just said?
Wait, say it again.
Do you deny what I just said?
Say it again. I wasn't listening.
900,000 Jews, approximately 700 to 900,000, were forced to become Zionists, not by choice, but because they were forced out. The vast majority went to the fucking Arabs. The anti-Semitic Arabs.
There you go.
There you go. What? That's my point. Are you okay?
I rest my case.
Okay, well, I mean, you can...
No, you're too fucking delusional to realize what kind of racist nonsense you're fucking chirping on. That was my entire point.
It's historic.
Thank you.
I mean, it's historical. You don't know anything of what you're talking about. Avi Schleim, once again, because you don't want to contend, you like to fuse him when it's convenient, he left not because they were Zionists, they left because they were afraid.
Yeah, fucking Arabs. What was Avi Schleim, by the way?
Yeah, he was an Arab Jew. They didn't see him that way. They kicked his ass out. I'm not saying fucking Arabs. There's a reason for it. There was a rise in Arab nationalism following the 1948 war. They blamed their own Jewish populace for what Israel did. That's anti-Semitism. They had nothing to do. Do you think the Iraqi Jews left their 2,000-year-old communities, left their businesses, left their houses because they wanted to go to Israel? Are you fucking mad?
Ethan, remember a while back I tweeted and you got really mad when I said that there's a double standard between Islamophobia and anti-Semitism?
Absolutely a double standard, and you exhibit it, my friend.
And you're participating in it right now without even recognizing that you're doing so.
I mean, I'm just telling you literally what happened.
It's just historical racism. All Arabs
are
not
racist.
Responsible.
Do people never get racist? Do people never be... I'm explaining why. I'm not blaming anyone, but I'm just explaining why. After the 1948 war, the rise of Arab nationalism created a lot of anti-Semitism, and that's why the vast majority of the Jews, the 900,000 of them, were forced to immigrate. Ethan, that's a fact. That is a historical fact.
Ethan, I'm sorry to say this, and I don't know if your audience gets this as well, but what you just said earlier is not an accurate reflection of history. It's just pure racism.
How do you know that?
How do you know that it's not real? Shifting the blame over to the
absolutely was the blame of the Arabs. At a time when
every single one of these Arab countries,
with
their own version of pan-Arabic nationalism,
they kicked them out.
Half of them were already still controlled, by the way, by fucking European colonial powers like Vichy France.
That was literally just in Tunisia.
The Moroccan expulsion program, and you're using that as a similarity between the planned expulsion of 750,000 Palestinians.
I mean, the details are different, but you're denying, once again, you're still not disproving me. What did I say that is hilariously racist and wrong?
Anti-German racism.
Don't make an analogy. Tell me why I'm wrong.
It's like pointing to anti-German racism. I
don't need an analogy. I need facts from you. Why am I wrong?
It's as though you are pointing to anti-German racism happening during the fucking German conquest.
Tell me a fact, right, that proves that I'm wrong. That the vast majority of Jews fled because of anti-Semitism in the Arab states.
Oh,
really?
It's not what you're saying.
So I didn't say anything wrong.
I take issue with.
I didn't say anything wrong.
Comparison.
I didn't say anything wrong, but I'm racist.
It's the idea that all Arabs are fucking one-minded and have something to do with Palestinians in general. Yes, I never said that there wasn't any fucking anti-Arab, anti-Jewish sentiment. That also...
Were the vast majority of Jews, did they leave because of anti-Semitism or Zionism?
The vast majority of Jews...
Did they leave?
Regardless of whether or not Zionism they left for anti-Semitism or Zionist purposes, is not comparable to the Nakba.
You're not answering. Did they leave
It is
because
not
of
comparable to the Nakba.
I don't care. That's got nothing to do with what I'm talking about. I'm not comparing them.
And
by the way, they're
what
both.
You're talking about. You made that comparison
unique.
to say to make it seem as though it was a much larger
No, because
crime
people like you
Jews
ignore the trauma of the fact that
countries.
You want to tell that people in Israel to go back to where they came from. This is where they're from. They were forced to go to Israel.
They could right now. They could go tomorrow.
Really? The Iraqi Jews can go back to their home tomorrow. The Egyptian Jews can go back to their homes tomorrow.
Absolutely.
That is insane. You are fucking out of your mind.
Yes, they can.
Okay, how? Tell me how. How do the Jews go back to their...
They don't want to, and I understand why they wouldn't want to, because America fucking invaded and destroyed Iraq. But yes, they could.
How? How would they go back and reclaim their lost assets, their lost property?
There were literally different schemes designed
and by the way, how did they become citizens?
At different points throughout this 76-year-long, drawn-out apartheid structure, there were numerous instances where, yes, there was a right to return offered to Jews, and even restitution for the homes that they lost in the process. So yes, you're wrong. You simply don't know the facts. You are wrong.
You won't say what fact I'm getting wrong.
I just told you.
Did the vast majority of Jews immigrate to Israel following 1948 because of Zionism or because of anti-Semitism?
No. Don't run away from this point.
Answer the fucking question.
I don't discount anti-Semitism as a direct consequence of pan-Arabic nationalism that took place in numerous countries.
Answer the question.
I have issues with your comparison. Okay?
Who's comparing? You keep saying that. I'm not talking about the Nakba.
I'm
talking about your unwillingness to recognize Jewish plight.
And you brought really that up deliberately to say more Jews were displaced than Palestinians were.
I think that's an interesting fact that you clearly don't fucking ever want to mention, because it really messes up your beautiful little narrative.
Why would you? So what? Why did you bring that fact up right after you talked about the 1948 war?
Because the point is that two people were traumatized.
I think that comparison is disgusting.
There was two people that were traumatized. There was two people that were displaced unfairly. It was the Palestinians and it was the Middle Eastern Jews. They both have trauma. You failed to acknowledge one group. You shit on the other one. Unlike you, acknowledge both groups. I acknowledge both groups.
You're all lives mattering the Nakba.
What? That isn't...
That's what you're doing. And you're also attributing...
How am I doing that?
You're attributing anti-Semitic violence in different countries
at the same time following 1948 pan-Arab nationalism. You said that yourself. These 5 Arab countries were defeated in 1948, and they turned super fucking anti-Semitic as a result. They became ultra-nationalist Arabs. It became popular. As Israel declared independence, they said, "Fuck no, we don't want this country here." And yeah, they all became anti-Semitic. That's a historical fact that you denied.
You also failed to recognize that Iraqi Jews have been allowed to return to Iraq, and there have been numerous instances where Jews were given an opportunity to return if they wanted to.
How many Jews live in Iraq?
What?
How many Jewish people?
I don't know. I think it's 0 right now, but they can.
How many Jews live in the Middle East outside of Israel?
Why would it?
Virtually none. Where'd they go?
Why would Iraqi Jews
it was so fucking great for them?
Why would Iraqi Jews not want to go to Iraq, you think, right now?
0 Jews. Virtually 0 Jews live outside of Israel in the Middle East. Why is that? You don't think that none of them wanted to fucking stay at home?
I don't know. Maybe because there was a religious ethno-supremacist state that was backed by a lot of Western states as a direct destabilizer in the fucking region, with mass migration happening, especially, of course, mass migration happening, and then in the aftermath of the Holocaust with a shit ton more refugees coming in, was a much more viable state for them.
Here's the problem.
The viability of said state, of course, is partially a consequence of the other countries and the hostility that people felt towards Jewish people.
You don't want to blame the Arabs.
This in and of itself, is the heart of the problem, because people conflate Zionism with Judaism, and that's what the Arabs did when they
kicked them all out.
I know, and I don't think it's appropriate.
And so why are you blaming the Zionists and not the fucking Arabs for being racist? Why do you deny the Jewish trauma? Why do you deny the 900,000 traumatized Jews that were forced, including, by the way, what you keep ignoring, Avi Schleim. Avi Schleim said we didn't leave Iraq because we were Zionists. We left because we were afraid. Are you hearing that?
Ethan, do you blame the English for the Holocaust?
No.
Who did the Holocaust, Ethan?
Just fucking make your point. I'm not playing this silly game.
Come on, who did the Holocaust? Just say it.
Make your point, dude. I'm not a fucking...
Why not? I'm asking you a question. It's a super simple question.
Avi Schleim said we left Iraq because...
I asked you who was responsible for the Holocaust.
Why would I answer
Which
such
nation?
a stupid rhetorical question? Just make your point.
What, you know the answer to this, right? Like, come on, what are you looking at on your fucking computer? Like, which country is responsible for the Holocaust?
Anytime you want to make your point. I would appreciate if
Wait,
you...
what is happening? Dude, when you already... Okay, here, whatever. You said
I would appreciate if you would just listen to one thing I would say.
You already said that it wasn't the English, right? It's not the responsibility of the British that the Holocaust happened, right? You understand that. You recognize that, right?
Well, I would say the nation most directly guilty for the Holocaust was probably Nazi Germany.
Okay. Did you just read that from your laptop?
No, I'm eloquent.
Okay,
I'm like your dumbass.
Yes, it is. Okay. Notice how you don't actually
I'm fabulous, bitch.
Put every single fucking country. There was plenty of anti-Semitism in England too. Notice how you don't fucking say all Europe. All of Europe is responsible for the Holocaust.
Concentration camps in the
UK? You say all Arabs.
Okay.
The point is,
there's no Jews in the Middle East.
The anti-Semitic.
Can you listen to one thing? I have one thing important to say that I really want you just to listen to, okay? Avi Schleim said they did not leave Iraq because they were Zionists. They left because they were afraid.
Yes.
You are denying his family's trauma. You are blaming his family's trauma on Zionists.
Will you talk to him about this?
Sure. I mean, he's going to agree with me. I read it from his fucking book.
If you're so confident in everything, if you're so confident in all of this, okay, that would be great. All right. Perfect. Okay.
So listen. I'll debate all these people instead of you. I have time. Unfortunately, like I said, it's getting late, so I just want to make one last point before we go, which is that always remember, Hasan, that when people criticize me, I watch it on my stream by myself live, unlike a bitch-made coward like yourself who needs someone to hold your hand, make all the excuses in the world to avoid any single criticism, any response. You, my friend, are a coward, and I am the fucking legend that responded to it live with zero hesitation. But you know why? Because I'm not a liar. I don't have to think about the shit that I say and justify it. You lied. That's why you can't do it, because you'll get caught in those lies.
Our endeavor made you look good, then congratulations.
You don't think it was good that you don't think that it was a supreme confidence that I responded to it immediately live?
Ethan, it took you 4 months to actually entertain the notion of having a conversation with me. I don't give a fuck about watching YouTube videos. I don't know why you think that I'm afraid of watching your fucking YouTube videos. You watch 11 hate videos on your channel. 11 hate videos. I've watched 0 about you, Hasan. Do you want to actually discuss who's the coward? You made the hate videos, dumbass. Your fucking community is the hate community. Why the fuck would you have to watch hate videos or whatever? You are the one who's doing it.
When criticism comes, I confront it.
Well, thank you for backtracking on at least 7 of the points. Maybe we should go through the context puke one more time so we can
if you want to watch it,
continue this conversation later. Okay.
Listen, if you want to watch it,
I'll hold your hand through all the other dumb shit that you said in it. It's not because I'm afraid. It's because you were crying.
No, it is definitely because you're afraid. Why is it you didn't pull? Why is it you love Ban Empanada, but when he makes a video criticizing you, you say I'm not watching that?
Because I think it's. You want to know why? Because I think it's fucking unproductive to
watch criticism of me, you fucking coward. What are you saying?
Because you're fucking presenting yourself and developing an audience that is literally, without even realizing it, because they are only drama obsessed, without realizing it, they're literally positioning themselves to be pro-Israel, to repeat pro-Israel talking points. Yes, that is the only reason why I started talking about you. Because you went on a fucking deplatforming campaign.
Why did you not watch Bad Empanada's video about you? You watched all of it.
You did 110 Instagram stories on me, Ethan, since January 31st, 2025.
24 hours, bro.
You didn't even recognize.
You need to at least admit that it's reciprocal. I am not upset. You made 24 hours of nonstop content, bro.
Ethan,
24 hours in the last 2 months,
just on your own personal.
We've talked about each other equally as much, bro.
January 31st. 2025, 110 stories. It was so insane, you didn't believe it.
Even if
you don't even believe your own mania.
Hasan,
please, for the love of God,
Hasan, You talked about me 24 minutes a day, every day, 7 days a week for 60 days. Does that sound fucking reasonable?
After you presented yourself as a fucking significant force trying to literally deplatform pro-Palestinian voices.
How much time do you think it makes an Instagram story?
That's why. And that's you literally.
Why didn't you watch a bad empanada video about yourself?
Your own producers were begging you to stop talking about me, so much so that you had to set up a separate war room where you only talked about me. And that's what happened, right? Because you couldn't shut up about it. Your fans were fucking going, Ethan, we get it.
My fans are fine, bro. Don't worry about my fans.
And the entire time you frame this as though it's petty fucking drama.
It's not petty drama. You are deeply anti-Semitic, hateful, fucking propagandist liar.
That took place. And it only took you now to fucking openly say 10 toes down that it is a genocide, but also
I've said that consistently for years, liar.
Ethan, you don't want anyone to resist against genocide. It is a fucking untenable position.
Oh, you mean kidnapping civilians?
No
You're so pathetic, bro. Please.
And you constantly keep smearing me as a fucking anti-Semite at a time when the Trump administration, at a time when the Trump administration is blackbagging people.
Yeah, that's bad happening. Don't call me out. That's bad happening. Don't call me out. That's what you're doing.
Dude, how do you not understand?
Why didn't you watch the bad empanada video?
That you are playing a formative role when you don't talk about Mahmoud Khalil.
Just remember, everybody watching,
when you don't talk about the mass starvation of Gaza.
By the way, I advocated for Kamala to get elected. What'd you do? I told people to vote for Kamala. What'd you do?
Oh.
No, seriously. What'd you do?
Ethan,
did you?
Congratulations.
Do you think Kamala and Trump would have been equally bad?
I won't change anything from Joe Biden's policies, Harris.
It's not Joe Biden, it's Kamala Harris.
Not only did I go to the DNC, but I actually offered some pretty fucking valuable criticism of the Democratic Party that they didn't listen to, unfortunately.
Didn't they kick you out of the DNC?
Because they didn't listen to that valuable criticism, they lost. Why have you lied about me voting for Jill Stein, by the way? Can we talk about that?
I don't know.
Who do you keep saying I voted for Jill Stein?
Who did you vote for?
Countless hours shitting on Jill Stein.
I said I think you did.
Not to vote for Trump. I've said that Donald Trump is significantly worse than Kamala Harris. And I've also, on top of that, called Jill Stein a grifter
you didn't endorse
over and over and over again. But for some weird reason, despite the fact that I voted live, mind you,
and you didn't say who
to your audience, and you kept lying to your audience.
I said
and you kept making it seem as though I didn't even fucking vote or I urged people not to vote. There's never been a moment where I said do not vote.
Who did you vote for?
I voted for Kamala Harris. You got a problem?
No, I got no problem, but I think there's people in your audience that would.
You don't have a problem. You don't have a problem.
Why didn't you endorse her then?
Why the fuck do you keep saying I voted for Jill Stein?
I said I think because you didn't say who you voted for.
Oh,
yeah, that's what I said. It's an opinion.
Oh, you think? Oh, you don't give a fuck, dude. It doesn't matter who I vote for anyway. You're out of your fucking mind. I did not endorse Kamala Harris, and I will never endorse Kamala Harris.
Voted for her.
And I did not endorse Joe Biden.
And now Trump's president.
You want to know why? Because you want to know why?
Trump's building the Riviera in Gaza Strip, and guess what? You fucking love that shit because you get to keep making content about it, and you get to keep making videos, and you guarantee there will never be peace there because you won't acknowledge the trauma of both sides. Two things must always be true,
How much content have you made about Donald Trump? How much content have you made about fucking Donald Trump? You literally defended his terrorist regime. What the fuck are you talking about? And then you have to apologize because you're an embarrassing figure.
You can't fathom.
Listen to me. Listen to me.
You can't fathom that somebody says something wrong and comes back and corrects it.
And all of the producers or all the people that are giving you fucking talking points is not going to make you come across as smart in this process. Please, for your own mental sanity, stop trying to do this. You are basically brain breaking a shit ton of people into idiotic positions. You clearly don't care about people who have actually voted for Donald Trump, considering your allegiance with people who have literally directly voted for Donald Trump.
Who's my allegiance? Okay? Who's my allegiance to?
What do you mean? You have fucking Trump supporters that you're friends with. Like Steiny in general. When I have a conversation with him, I'm actually directly fucking addressing some of the shit.
Did you watch my interview with him? You fucking dipshit. That our entire conversation was me arguing with him and telling him why Trump's bad and why transphobia is bad. You are insanely incompetent.
You're playing poker with people who fucking voted for Donald Trump. You're defending Asmongold.
You were just on Steiny's podcast, you hypocrite.
Is not actually Trump coded.
I spent hours shitting on Steiny.
You're just a liar. Asmongold has been a valuable figure shitting on me this entire time. And that's the only reason why you act like he's not that significant of a force. That's it.
When did I say that?
You will take help from anyone and everyone.
And it was all written by Destiny, right?
You claim to care. You claim to care about rape, and you're hyping up a dude who has a segment on a show called Ultimate Rape Review. The reason why you're hyping up that dude is because you don't give a fuck. All you care about is petty drama. This is your only content. Stop doing petty drama content. Shut the fuck up about politics and get back to goofs and gaffes, and it will be fine. People will forget that you have behaved in this way, but you don't want to do that. It's become a fucking personal agenda for you that people don't like you. It must be anti-Semitism. No, they don't like you because you don't know what the fuck you're talking about, and you have to be babied by goddamn producers as a 40-year-old adult. That's the reason why people don't like it.
Very good. Very good. Now, why don't you watch Bad Empanadas videos about you?
Because he's pro-Palestine, and I don't give a fuck about.
He was criticizing you.
Palestine,
oh, you're
and
such
I don't
a
care
coward,
about the difference in methods that we have.
All right, very good. I'm out of my depth. I shouldn't talk about
the movement. And if you were pro-Palestine, I would never talk about you either. That's the real reason.
Uh-oh. Can you please contend with the Avi Schleim quote that they left not because of Zionism, but because of they were afraid?
Dude, come on. Enough. You have Avi Schleim on the show. Talk to him about it, okay?
Okay, sure.
Maybe it'll go down exactly like you thought with Sam Cedar.
How did it go with Sam Cedar? I think if anything, Sam kind of embarrassed himself. I genuinely do. I hate to say it because I like Sam.
Dude, a 40-year-old man who needs a fucking button when he has like a little oopsie moment is actually the one who's talking about Sam Cedar embarrassing himself.
Did I button during that debate?
He lowered himself to talk to you man to man and tried to explain to you what was going on.
That's what you asked for. Why would you want to lower his status?
Private, Ethan.
Why did you lower his status?
Because I thought you could be convinced. I didn't realize you were this fucking drama obsessed.
Drama obsessed. We had an argument about fucking South Africa apartheid. What's drama about that?
What?
You're fucking dude. Listen,
I can't hear what you said. What did you say?
It doesn't matter. Just remember, when it comes to criticism, I watch it.
Yes.
You ignore it. It's so important.
Nelson Mandela was actually peaceful because you're going to clip chimp the fucking shit that Loner Box told you.
Why was
it? You're going to say the violent things that the ANC did were in the Truth and Reconciliation Committee attributed to.
Hassan, how many civilians died in the 20 years in the ANC during the ANC's?
It was like 200, I think.
Less than 100. How many people did Hamas kill on one day? Nelson Mandela, which I'll read you a quote from his trial. I'll read you a quote.
Are you comparing the apartheid structure in South Africa to 76 years of colonial occupation?
Don't you do that all the time?
No, the number is far larger, and the militancy has gotten far more radical as a direct consequence of Israel becoming far more radical. Because, as I told you, and you seemingly understood when we first had this conversation after October 7, that the maintenance of an apartheid is an inherently violent endeavor. And as a matter of fact, the resistance to said apartheid is only going to get worse and worse as time moves on. This is precisely the reason why the first intifada was fought with stones,
you're just bringing random shit up,
rocks, bro. And the second intifada, in the aftermath of horrific acts of terror against Palestinians who were at a mosque praying.
I actually have facts. I have a historical quote. I'm not just grandstanding. Mandela, from his trial in 1960, said, and I quote, "There were 4 forms of violence that were possible. One was sabotage, one was guerrilla warfare, one was terrorism, and then there was open revolution. We chose to adopt the first method as it exhausted it before taking any other decision. In light of our political background, the choice was a logical one. Sabotage did not involve loss of life, and it offered the best hope for future race relations. Bitterness would be kept minimum, and if a policy bore fruit, democratic government could become a reality. This is what we felt at the time, and this is what we said in our manifesto. We have always sought to achieve liberation without bloodshed and civil clash. We hope, even at this late hour, that our first actions will awaken everyone to the realization that the disastrous situation which the nationalist policy is leading. We hope that we will bring the government and its supporters to their senses before it's too late, so that both the government and its policies can be changed before matters reach the desperate state of war."
Notice how the end part of that is getting ready for rebellion.
Did they?
I feel like Yeah, because
No, they
the
didn't.
apartheid structure dissolved as a direct consequence of pressure campaigns and also militancy, which Nelson Mandela not once but twice
what's Hamas doing
with
for
the option
liberation?
of having his sentence commuted, which he refused to do. They said,
On principle,
Nelson Mandela,
bro.
if you disavow
on
violence,
principle. He said, I will not remain in jail because a prisoner can't negotiate. A prisoner can't decide.
Yes, that was the
he
first
said
time.
no
And in both
times. He refused on principle. Less than 100 people died during the 20-year period. They never, anyone that attacked civilians, they were disavowed. The ANC repeatedly apologized and disavowed violence against civilians.
When did they do that?
Less than 100 civilians died.
When did they
Hamas
do that?
killed 1,000 civilians on
When
one
did they do
fucking
that?
day.
1,000 civilians?
Yeah.
The poor civilian Israeli soldiers that died in their military bases.
No, there was like, bro, you're so dumb. 300.
What do you mean I'm so dumb?
Okay,
These
how many
numbers
civilians
matter.
died? How many civilians died?
I believe the total number of casualties on October 7 was 1,200, with 800 being civilians, which is completely unacceptable,
I'm off
and
by
400
100. I was
members.
off by 100. Oh my God, dude! I can't believe the historical inaccuracies.
Well,
you're
you just made a big. You're the one who's bringing up numbers here, Ethan. And yes, I do think it's
virtually
important to recognize something here that you are seemingly failing to recognize. Nelson Mandela was thrown in prison because he went and trained with the FLN in Algeria. The reason why he stayed in fucking prison was because he refused to disavow violence, because he understood that as long as peaceful revolution
I didn't say
is
he's a pacifist.
impossible,
I never said he's a
violent
pacifist.
revolution is inevitable.
Yeah, and I never said he's a
revolution
pacifist.
They did do.
You know what's funny?
In terms of the death and destruction on the apartheid structure, by the way,
Nelson
it is
Mandela
incomprehensible to compare that to Israel's violence against the Palestinians.
Was Nelson
what Israel has done to the
Mandela
Palestinians is far
Zionist?
worse. And by the way, that's not my assessment. What Israel has done to the Palestinians for the past 76 years is infinitely worse.
Well, let's ask someone that lived through
assessment,
apartheid.
by the way. That is the assessment of Mandela. And for all the, for all of the moments that he was able to
You think
fucking
Mandela
see.
said what's happening is worse than what we went through? That's bullshit. Why would he say that? Hasan, you're a liar.
Why would he say that? Because it's true, Ethan.
Okay.
That's why.
Is Nelson Mandela a Zionist?
Yes, Nelson Mandela. Are you going to say in 1999 he said Israel has a legal right to exist?
More than
in
that.
Same
He
speech
said more
that you're
than
going to
that.
fucking clip, champ.
Remember that you called this guy a neo-Nazi, not fit to be a dog catcher. That's what you
Who?
said about
What?
Nelson Mandela.
Wait,
No,
what are you talking about?
What?
Whoa, you're jumping off like a million different points.
The right of Israel to exist as a state legally. We have stood quite openly and firmly for the right of that state to exist within secured borders.
You disagree with that statement?
Does Israel has a right to exist? Not in the way that it currently does.
Within secure borders.
Ethan, hold on.
Coward.
Do you know what he says after that clip?
Yeah, that he also thinks that Palestinians also need to be acknowledged, which, by the way, is my fucking point.
No, not that.
Palestinian liberation and Israeli borders are two sides of the same coin.
Ethan, he didn't just say Palestinians also need to be acknowledged.
What did he say?
He says that if peaceful means of coexistence is impossible, then violence is inevitable, Ethan. Why did you clip that out of the fucking clip chimp
Because
that
it's
you posted,
irrelevant.
Ethan?
Did you saying I clip chimp Nelson Mandela?
Yes, you literally did. You cut him out of context.
No,
because it doesn't
he's
suit
a
your fucking
Zionist. What do you
purpose.
mean? He's talking philosophically.
Yes, you just did.
He's talking philosophically.
You just did. You think it's irrelevant? We're having a conversation about Nelson Mandela and whether or not he actually believes in violence. Whether or not he actually believes in violence. You have said time and time again that he was a peaceful dove. He's never actually done any violence whatsoever.
Didn't.
There are numerous instances
Inevitability, a philosophical warning, is not an endorsement. He was speaking as a warning to them, which was apt.
Brother, that is insane.
What?
Nelson Mandela was literally on a terror watch list since 2008.
Who gives a fuck?
What do you mean who gives a fuck? You like to use the terrorism watch list when you're talking about the Houthis, or you like to use the terrorist watch list when you talk about Hezbollah.
I mean, I gave you
Hamas.
specific examples of why those organizations are bad.
Who do you think that was Who do you think the philosophical point that he was making, the guy who was in prison for violent resistance, by the way, who trained
violent resistance? You mean sabotage?
Ready for rebellion,
sabotage.
By the way.
Sabotage and give government
that was a warning to? Do you think that was a warning to Palestinians, or do you think that was a warning to
the fact
Israel?
That you are
because
so
that
willing.
Same Nelson Mandela has time and time again also repeated that no one is free until Palestine is free. That same Nelson Mandela that you're trying to fucking use in this situation has said that this is a united struggle, that Israel's actions against the Palestinians are abhorrent, that it is akin to what they have experienced in apartheid South Africa, if not worse. So the idea that you can make this comparison because you
Palestine
think
to
it's
be free,
your
my
fucking
friend.
argument is so stupid. And the only way you can do that is by cutting it out of context.
No, I just explained why. Dude, I want Palestine to be free. But you know what? I don't think Hamas is furthering that goal. I think Hamas is counterproductive. They're making it worse. They're causing it to be inevitable. You refuse
why are they making it worse?
You refuse to criticize them, which is pathetic. Unlike
why
me, I'm willing to criticize the Israeli government. I'm willing to come to terms with the cruel reality. Hamas.
Walk through it. Why are they making it worse?
Well, what was the fucking objective there on October 7th, genius?
Kidnapping, which, by the way, I don't even agree with, which is an international human rights violation. But kidnapping Israeli soldiers, Israeli civilians, to make to
and what part about that was slaughtering fucking families in their homes?
Ethan, I don't agree with the tactics. You know this already. We're not relitigating this over and over again.
I'm just saying, Hamas is a bunch of fucking...
17 months of fucking genocide, okay? What do you think? What do you think?
One day you're going to watch a video response I make. One day.
Probably not, when you apologize for all the fucking harm that you've done.
Apologize? Okay, all right.
Yeah.
Listen.
I have the rest of the clip that you clipped, Chip, by the way, if you want to hear his actual fucking full-fleshed opinions.
I'm not hiding from it. I literally acknowledge what he said. I don't care.
But so why did you say that he was actually why did you say that he was actually a peaceful resistance type of guy?
When did I say that? When the fuck did I say that, you liar?
You've said it on numerous occasions, as opposed to you said that on numerous occasions before someone told you, no, actually, here's a better way to massage that narrative.
I said he uses violent means such as sabotage. He didn't kill civilians.
Ethan,
that's what I said.
Will you stop talking if I show you numerous instances where you have said Nelson Mandela was peaceful?
I'm not going to. You get those together, okay?
I mean,
You're going to do great. You're going to do great. Yeah, go ahead.
Ethan,
and grab
you literally
those.
said he was a pacifist.
I never said Nelson Mandela was a pacifist.
Ethan,
that is an insane lie.
You said it to Sam Cedar 2 days ago.
So you got to watch that back, because you're once again a liar. You have no problem lying. You have no problem saying that I work with the ADL without any evidence. You fucking have no problem discrediting the suffering of Jewish refugees.
Nelson Mandela is a pacifist.
Okay, well, prove it.
And the full quote, by the way, of Nelson Mandela is from when he visited Gaza in 1999 that I was referring to. Choose peace rather than confrontation, except in cases where we cannot move forward. Then, if the only alternative is violence, we will use violence. Yeah. Does that sound like a pacifist to you?
I meant that he didn't kill civilians. His approach is vastly different than what Hamas is doing.
Do you think Nelson Mandela would like what the Houthis are doing?
I don't know. Let's fucking dig him out of his grave and ask him.
That's kind of weird, because, I mean, you said he was doing peaceful means of resistance.
Do I think Nelson Mandela would be in favor of kidnapping 10 civilians? No, of course not.
Yes, he would. 100%.
All right, well, while you're busy putting words in a dead man's mouth.
100% he would. What are you talking about? Nelson Mandela bombed the fucking church and shit. What are you talking about? Not Nelson Mandela directly in prison, but
fuck with civilians, bro. That was his thing. He wanted to be as peaceful as possible because he knew that if he killed and targeted civilians, it would make reunification impossible.
You're right.
That's
Israel's doing a genocide because Palestinians are not resisting
Less than
in the appropriate
100 civilians died in 20-year period. I mean, what do you want more than that? Hamas killed 1,000 or 900. So sorry.
800. But also,
800. You're right. You know what?
Well,
That's better.
It's seemingly important. You're the one who's bringing up numbers now. What you again fail to recognize is, of course, the length, and not only that, but also the resistance against apartheid South Africa included military resistance on top of that. But that's not even my point here. Okay?
Huh?
My point is that the apartheid in South Africa and the resistance against it was a far shorter period with far less casualties on the South African side as opposed to Israel's complete ethnic cleansing campaign that is that has started now, but even before its ethnic cleansing campaign.
Well, then don't compare Hamas to Nelson Mandela.
Because the situation is far worse, Ethan.
Then why
because Israel has killed every Nelson Mandela. Israel would have probably killed Nelson Mandela if they had the opportunity to do so.
I'm sure, and they would have done everything bad that's ever happened in the world.
Wait, do you know why I said that? No, don't look at your laptop. Do you know why I said that?
Let me guess. I don't. Oh, tell me.
No, go ahead. Just throw up a guess.
All right, listen. It's 5 o'clock. I'm not doing this. Okay. You
you
can
don't
tell
wanna
me,
do
or
this.
you cannot.
Okay.
You want to? I'll stand here if you want to tell me, but I'm not going to sit here and play rhetorical games.
Israel was aligned with South Africa, the apartheid government.
Yeah, I know. They made nuclear bombs with them. It's horrible.
Yeah.
What's that have to do with anything? Fuckhead.
Yeah.
When did I defend that?
Well, they're both apartheids, so.
Yeah. And when did I deny that? All right, listen, it's 5 o'clock. Like I said, I have a family to go to. I have 3 kids and a wife, and I know that you have a fucking cool-ass race car bed to sleep in, and I hope you enjoy that. And
okay, man. Thank you. Have a good one. I hope this was productive. Dan, he needs you more than you need him. Stop babying this man, please. He needs you more than you need him. Stop babying him.
Well, I know that's true, but I don't baby him.
Come on. Okay. All right.
You want to target the crew more? You want to drum up
harassment?
These
These were my coworkers. I have a tremendous amount of respect for the crew.
Hey,
they
Bad
are what
Empanada
makes the
called
show
AB
great.
a house slave.
What?
Bad Empanada called AB a house slave.
Yeah, he's wrong. What the fuck do you want?
Okay, well, you watch his videos a lot.
Why are you bringing up Bad Empanada? Do you think I agree with everything he says? No, of course not.
You endorse him.
Ethan,
right,
I've endorsed his
you promote him
YouTube
all the
video
time. That's a
essays
fact.
that I agree with, that I think are very well thought out.
All right,
I don't
listen,
endorse
stop being a coward and watch some fair
opinions
criticism.
overall.
Please stop being a coward and just watch some criticism. It will prove that you are not afraid.
This was pretty good. This was pretty productive. You know, having this conversation, having this back and forth. Don't you think?
I actually do. I think you exposed yourself deeply a few times here, and I think we'll have to wait and see, obviously, how this pans out. But I do think it was productive to show just kind of the blatant, overt, anti-Semitism.
Maybe I will watch the Context Puke.
Yes, please, and then we can talk about it.
Maybe I will watch the Context Puke live, as a matter of fact,
please
not in a cowardly way. I like that this is what it's come to, where having a face-to-face conversation is less. Is somehow less fucking is more cowardly than like actually watching a YouTube video that you made.
It is
dude. What's cowardly is you fucking constantly crying and refusing to actually look for context and putting together putting together shit that you saw on fucking subreddits to be like, this is my argument. I'm destroying him.
Watch it and tear it up and show how out of context it was. I'd love that.
Don't worry. Maybe I'll actually do that to fundraise for the charities that you are actively targeting by trying to undermine and celebrate with Creator Clash 3, which is, I
don't know if you know this, but last year they lost $250,000. To be charitable, you actually have to give money to charity.
I know. You fucking hate everybody that has even lightly fucking criticized you or stayed out of.
Are you surprised that I didn't like Ian's video?
What? No, dude.
Dude, if you want to own me, listen, Hasan. If you want to own me by donating to charity, I think that's fantastic. You're gloating
that a fucking charity event is actually like you're trying to undermine a charity event deliberately.
You have to give money to be charity. It's like a slush fund for them.
God, that's so gross, man.
I mean, what happened last year? How much money did they make? Did they do charity last year?
I don't know.
They lost $250,000.
Will you debate me again, Ethan, if you keep chirping in the future?
Yeah, of course.
Perfect.
But if you, I think it would be good if you watch the context puke,
and
then we can discuss it.
Maybe I'll do that. The fundraiser for Creator Clash.
Yes, I think it's awesome. If you want to own me by donating to charity, I think that's sick as fuck.
Yeah, maybe you should do that too. Donate some pro-Palestinian charities. I'll feel so fucking owned.
Let's own each other and donate to charity.
All right.
I know you guys I know you guys hate each other, but the views were crazy.
It was? How many? I never looked.
Saying, think about it.
What was the views at? I never looked.
They're pretty good on both ends, like 100K.
Whose was higher?
Don't ask that question.
Hasan's was higher?
Hasan's was higher.
Yeah.
Not by much, but it was higher.
That's not good. We got to do something.
I mean, I had 120,000. I don't know what you guys had over there. I wasn't looking, but
We got up to about 100K. So
well, we're gonna have to do some. These people are clearly have some kind of brain disease, and we need to do something about it.
No, for sure. Ethan, please keep up the energy as though you feel that there is a genocide going on, because your output is what matters here. And that is what I was trying to get across to you and get across to your audience. If you think that
I acknowledge that I acknowledge that I could talk about it more, and I should make more of an effort to talk about it.
Okay, thank you. Instead of going after
And you should try not to be a fucking raging anti-Semite for a day.
What?
If you can try not to be a raging anti-Semite for a day, then we can shake hands.
Ethan, I don't think you actually believe that I'm anti-Semitic. I think you're hysterical.
You should watch back the first part of this interview.
What?
You should watch back the first part of this interview. That is...
I don't think that makes you look good.
Okay, well, I guess we'll wait and see.
Yeah,
Unfortunately, I think your people are going to think it makes you look good, and then everybody else is going to think that might look good. Like, who gives a fuck? At the end of the day,
I'm sure.
It's not a swastika. It's just the swastika sword. It's not a swastika. It's just the sword that I called the swastika sword. Got it. All right, have a good night, Hasan.
Oh, all right,
I gotta go. All right,
you too, buddy.
You take care, bud.
All right.
Old friends, together at last.
bye, Hasan.
Give Kaya our love. Give Kaya our love.
Yeah, we all still love Kaya.
Oh my God, what a fucking train wreck. I was hoping that I shouldn't have hoped that he would have been more open to listening, but I guess that's what it was meant to be.
It is what it is.
I'm so tired.
How long was that going on for?
5 hours.
4 hours and
We're
15
going on
minutes.
5 hours here.
Was I owned?
I need to process everything that just happened. My head's spinning, to be
Another
honest.
fucking fever dream.
I was starting to lose, like, at the end tail of that. It's like, dude, I can't do
I
it.
could tell you were fading a little bit.
I think I got him. Honestly, I think I got him pretty good. The way that he was, like, denying obvious, blatant shit and being like, no, that's not. No, you're insane. You're hallucinating it. It's like, bro, that's crazy talk. I also liked how he, like, whatever. People will analyze this.
Yeah,
They
I'd
can
say
decide.
both sides got the clips they wanted. That's the end
That's
of that.
kind of the thing, right? Is like anything. Both sides declare victory, and nothing really changes. So, what can you do?
Just keep doing it because the views are great, right, Hasan? Hasan's got to
I'm
eat.
just saying.
He's got to pay. He's got to pay for that chicken and someone to make it for him too. All right, everybody. Well, thanks for watching. Thank you to the awesome, loyal, genius, caring 100,000 that watched on our stream, not Hasan's. So important. And I appreciate. I don't know if that was what y'all wanted, but it is what it is.
People are saying I won.
Dan won. Would you stop babying me, Dan? All right.
Alrighty.
It's Friday.
It is Friday.
Have a good night.
Thank
Have a
goodness for
blessed
that.
evening. TT, ta-ta for now, and we'll see you guys on Monday.
Bye bye.
Have a good weekend. And baby, it's Friday for Gabe.